Is a full-size overland vehicle the best option? And what's the most scary experience I've ever had on the trail? And what is a trail I will never do? What's a memorable experience that I've had in the military that I will never forget? And what is up with the Van Halen album on the wall? Those questions you submitted and more, we're going to answer today on this video. Stay tuned. Welcome to TrailRecon. I'm Brad, and thank you for joining me on this second episode of Garage Coffee. You guys seem to really enjoy the last episode, and so I thought, you know what? Look, we're all getting a little cabin fever, so let's do it again. So I have got a huge list of questions. I shouldn't say a huge list, but I've got some really good questions from Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook that you submitted. You guys actually submitted like over 500 questions. So I picked some of the ones that were most asked and some of the ones that I think are just pretty interesting. We'll have some good conversations about today. Now, just like we did in the first episode, I'm not editing this. I mean, normally I would do this live, but I'm just gonna let the camera roll, and if I say something stupid or if the dog starts barking, whatever happens, it's staying on there. So that's how we're gonna do these videos now and going forward. Maybe I'll throw up some graphics once in a while. Maybe I'll have a guest join me in the future when we're allowed to do that. But this is gonna be just let it roll. That's how we're gonna do it, guys. Okay, I should mention, Jordan was able to come home yesterday. Just for one day. He got a one-day pass. He might be able to come home next weekend as well. So we did some work in the garage yesterday, and I'm going to be editing that video because I will spend some time editing those. So that'll be coming up soon. But I'm alone in the garage. There's nobody here with me. Last time he was behind the camera and heckling me the whole time. So I'm by myself today. All right, let's dive into your questions. And we're going to start off with Tony Chuck. Have you ever trailed solo on a trail that was new to you? Yeah, all the time. We used to go out, I should say my son and I. Does that count as solo if it's my son and I and we're only in one vehicle? We used to go out all the time by ourselves. We still do that, and once in a while I will just if it's like a weekday and I've got nothing going on, I'll just go hit a trail and go explore a little bit. I don't recommend that. You need to make sure you have communications, safety gear, recovery gear. Let somebody know where you're going if you're going to go by yourself. It's always best to bring another person in another vehicle. But yes, sometimes I do go solo because, that's fun. Yevs, I think I'm saying that right. What do you think of the new Land Rover Defender? So when I was at the LA Auto Show a few months back, I got an opportunity to get a close-up look of the new Defender. I think it's a great vehicle. It's got a lot of luxury on it. It looks really nice. I like the styling of it, but I don't know if it would suit my needs. I'm a little harder on my vehicles, and so I don't think that's the right vehicle for me. Plus, the one thing that I don't like about Land Rover is they don't hold their value. See, I told you I'm going to keep them in. They don't hold their value very well. They depreciate pretty quickly. Unlike a Jeep or a Toyota, those vehicles hold their values very well. So I don't think I'll ever own a Land Rover. Maybe an older one would be cool, but probably not a new one. Definitely probably not. Matt Skethaway. Of the trails you ran in Colorado, which one was your favorite? Great question. So here's the problem with answering that question is I've only done a handful of trails in Colorado. I keep intending to go back and explore more because there's so much to see out there. But of all the trails that we did while we were on our trip out there, Imogene, hands down, was my favorite. I mean, we just had some great memories, but I just love that trail. It's got all kinds of history on it, all the old buildings and mines along the way, and just the scenery. Oh my gosh, it was amazing. So when I go back, that will definitely be a redo trail that I want to do, but there's so many others out there that I want to go see. John Kearns, I'd like to hear about your military background and how you served our country. Sorry if you've talked about this before. Thanks. John, thank you for your question. And I had a lot of people ask me about my military career, and so I'll just take a minute and give you kind of the Cliff Notes version. I did talk about this in a video like 3 years ago, but obviously there's a lot of new people to the channel since then. So I joined the Navy in 1990. I came in as a boiler technician, and I immediately was flown to the Persian Gulf during a Desert Storm. I was on board a cruiser and worked down in the engine room, turning wrenches and fixing, pumps and working on the boilers, and really enjoyed all that. but it was hard work, it was long hours, it was hot, and I built a pretty good relationship with the corpsman that was on the ship at the time. And he let me kind of work with him. And so I decided, you know what, medicine is something that I just really love. And so I cross-rated to become a Navy corpsman. I went to school. Then I went to Naval Hospital. Okay, now we're going to do the whole list of everywhere I was stationed in 26 years. We're going to do this quickly. I was stationed in Washington State, Naval Hospital Bremerton. I worked on the med-surg ward. That's also where I met my wife. Then I went to Okinawa. I worked at Naval Hospital Okinawa in Japan, and I worked in the ICU and the emergency room. Then I went to Independent Duty Corpsman School. From there, I was stationed with the Marines back in Okinawa with 7th Com, the red flag back there, 7th Com. While I was with 7th Com, I did all kinds of deployments, had a blast with those guys. Then I went on a destroyer, and so I was the Independent Duty Corpsman, the senior medical department representative on the destroyer, so I was in charge of the entire crew's health. It was an awesome job. USS Steedham was the command. And then from there, so I had been with the Marines, I had been on the ship, and my wife said, you need to come home and do some shore duty for a while. So we went back to Washington State. I was stationed at the hospital there. I was in charge, I'd gotten promoted a few times, so I was in charge of the surgical services. But while I was there, they said, hey, we need you to deploy. And so they sent me to Fallujah, Iraq. While I was in Fallujah, Iraq, I ran a battalion aid station with the Seabees. I deployed with EOD doing 9-line missions. Worked at Bravo Surgical. A lot of humbling experiences that happened out there that I will never forget. When I came back home, worked back at the hospital for a while, and then I got stationed on the USS Bonhomme Richard, which was a big amphibious ship. Great ship, had a large medical department, did a lot of deployments all around, had a great time on there, great crew. From there, I went to South Carolina, and I was stationed at Parris Island and was in charge of the clinics out there at Parris Island. And then I was the Command Master Chief at the Naval Hospital there for a short period of time. And then from there, I went to become the program director for Independent Duty Corpsman School. And then they were saying that they wanted me to transfer again after that. And my wife and I had a long conversation, decided, you know what, it's finally time to retire. So there you go. That was, I don't know how long that was, sorry. That was a long list of where I've been, but a lot of questions came in about my military career, and there you go. All right, moving on. Let's talk about some off-road stuff. Jerry Johnson, what's the first trail you've ever... Oh, what's the first trail you're heading for when this is over? Okay, so that's a great question because we're dying to hit the trail. Today was actually supposed to be the day that my wife and I head out and drive to Zion. We were going to spend 3 days in Zion and then go to EJS, Eastern Jeep Safari, and spend I think we're going to spend 5 days there and just have a great time wheeling around and all that. I don't know when this is over if we're going to be able to make it out to Zion, but I definitely want to go back out there. And she hasn't been there, and so she was really looking forward to that trip. Thomas Dosman, when are you going to build the Grand Cherokee Chief up? Okay, so my oldest son bought that Grand Cherokee, the WJ, and then we have the XJ, and I get questions over and over and over about where's the WJ, where's the XJ, where's the WJ, where's the XJ, and we have had a lot of fun with the XJ build. It is my son's daily driver. We don't have a lot of projects in store for it. We probably will do some stuff in the future. The WJ was never intended to be this big build because it's actually my son's daily driver as well. He goes to work, goes to school. We did put a budget boost on there and some larger tires, but that's it. Those are pretty much just vehicles that they daily drive. Right now we're focused on the TJ, Gladiator, my wife's Jeep. We've got projects for those. You may see those on the channel from time to time, but look, we're going to cycle through vehicles. We're not going to keep the same ones forever because, I mean, you know, I don't want to get things to get bored on the channel. But you'll see them from time to time, but they're not going to be big parts of the channel going forward. I know folks are probably disappointed, like, oh man. I don't know, maybe we'll have another XJ on the channel in the future. That would be fun. Axle heads. Any rig other than a Jeep that has surprised you while you were out on the trails? Yes. So there have been a couple times when we've been out on the trail, like when I'm out with the San Diego Jeep Club, which I love going out with those guys when I can, where there has been the newer models of the Jeep Cherokee Trailhawks that have been out there, and I have seen those things perform really well. I mean, just a little bit larger tires, and those things do really well on some mild obstacles out in the sand dunes. They've surprised me. I think those are a pretty capable little vehicle. Cindy Torres, Kona or Colombian? I think she's referring to coffee. Hoorah. I'm going to go with Kona, and that's just a personal choice because I actually got to go to the island of Kona and drink a ton of coffee when I was there. When I was in the Navy, we actually did a Liberty visit to Kona. Got to spend like 3 days running around the island. It was a blast. I love that place. So for me, I love that coffee. I love all coffee, but Kona I love a lot. Daniela Gonzalez, do you think the Ford Bronco will be any match for the Wrangler? Well, I thought when I first heard about it, I was like, man, if they come out with solid axles front and rear, it's going to be a huge competitor. Now, they have solid axles in the rear from what I'm understanding, and the front is going to be an independent suspension. It's supposed to be kind of cool, independent front suspension, but is it going to compete with the Wrangler? I mean, it's going to compete with it, but for the serious folks that like to go hit it hard, I don't know, we'll see. I would like to go try a Ford Bronco. I think it'd be kind of cool. Steve Tarver, you prefer sand in your shoes or rocks in your tires? Rocks in my tires. This is just Kevin21. What camera do you have and is it your favorite? So I used to have a Canon 90D as a DSLR camera, and currently you're watching me on a new Canon EOS R camera. I love it. It's mirrorless. It's a little smaller. The lenses that come with it are awesome. At least I think they are. Robbie Zayez, would you ever run 40s? That's a good question. I don't know that I ever need to run 40s. Look, I'm running 37s on the Wrangler, and this thing takes me everywhere I want to go and some places that I probably shouldn't have gone. And so do I need to run 40s? You know, that adds a whole new complexity to things. You got to lift it up higher. You've got to strengthen everything. I would have to replace the rear axle. It's a lot of stuff I'd have to do to run 40s. Will I ever run 40s? I'll never say never, but no plans to run 40s now. I think 37 is a great, tire, but I don't know, with everybody running 40s now, and 2 years from now, everybody running 44s, these will be dinky little tires by then, probably. Reed Barrett, what's been your favorite overlanding trip? And do you think Jordan's new TJ and you guys will go do some overlanding together? So my favorite overlanding trip ever was the very first time that we went to Baja. That was so amazing because there was so much unknown for me, because I'd been to Mexico before, just like to Tijuana area, but I'd never been down further than that. And going down there it was just so exciting. Going to all these great places, the beaches, the trails that we hit. It was an awesome trip. And of course, we ate some great food. We were with some awesome people. That first trip to Baja that we took, awesome. And yes, Jordan is going to be doing some overlanding trips. In fact, the project that we were working on in the garage here yesterday is going to help contribute to him being a little more self-sustained and being able to carry some stuff. That video is coming soon. But yes, we have plans to do some long-range trips with the TJ. Or I should say he'll be driving and I'll be driving something else. Robbie Zayez, how do you find good places to wheel? Oh, he snuck in 2 questions here. That's interesting. Okay, so I have a full video on how to find great trails to go off-road. I'll leave a link down below. But my number one source for finding good trails is trailsoffroad.com. I think that's a great one. Across the U.S., they're not worldwide, unfortunately, but here in the U.S., that's a great resource to just go find trails to wheel. But I'll leave a link down below. Go check out that video. I talk about 10 ways to find trails. I had a lot of fun filming that. Okay. Shania Clayton, what was your first overland experience like? Okay. I saw this question. I was like, I don't know the answer to that, but I wanted to include this question in this talk today because I think that's important to talk about. Look, overlanding is kind of a new term. Well, I shouldn't say it's a new term. It's a new term here in the U.S. People all over the world have been talking about it forever. When we first started going out off-roading, we were just going out further and further and further. And eventually we were tired of coming home at midnight, and so we just wanted to camp. And so we would, bring a tent and a sleeping bag, and we would just camp somewhere. So I don't remember our first overlanding trip. I mean, I think there was probably a time when, maybe it was Baja, maybe it was the Mojave Trail. One of those was maybe the first, I think I called it an overlanding trip, but we would go out multiple days and just camp and wheel and camp and wheel, and that's what we did in the beginning. We didn't really call it overlanding, so I don't know if I could talk about what my first overlanding experience was like. I need a haircut, guys. It's been like 4 weeks. Okay. Eric E., are you interested in electric vehicles for overlanding? I think it's a really good option to have solar powers and stuff while you are out using it and charging it. Okay, I think I'm very intrigued by electric vehicles for overland use. I think there's got to be some things that are worked out as far as range and being able to recharge. I don't know if charging your vehicle by solar is going to be something that's possible. I mean, you would have to have quite a few solar panels to be able to charge the energy needed for an electric vehicle. But I think it would be cool to at least, try some trips, maybe some easy trips, some cross-country trips or something, as long as you had it all planned out to see if you could do it by electric. I think that would be pretty cool. I'm intrigued by it. We'll see. I mean, it's the future. It's coming. Daniel Emma Olson. What's your favorite trail and restaurant in Moab and why? Okay, so this is near and dear to my heart because we were hoping to be in Moab here recently. My favorite place to eat is really a breakfast place. It's called the Eclectic Cafe. We go there for breakfast all the time. It's just this little cafe with some outside seating. It's a really cool little place. I don't know, it's probably my favorite just because we eat there all the time. We just have a lot of memories of it. My favorite trail in Moab would be Elephant Hill. But Elephant Hill is like 45 minutes. It's down in Canyonlands, but that's my favorite trail in that area. But actually inside of Moab, definitely Poison Spider. Like I could run Poison Spider all the time. I love that trail. It's fun. It's got great views. We've had some just good memories on that trail. Austin Grubbs, with so many mods out there, how do you prioritize what you purchase first? Okay, great question. I say it all the time on the channel. The first things you need to get are safety gear and recovery gear. Those are the first things you need to do. And then just take your vehicle out and use it. And as you start using your vehicle, you'll figure out kind of what the limits are and what you need. I don't think you need to just go modify your vehicle, make it all crazy before you take it out on the trail. Get used to driving your vehicle in stock. That way, when you modify it, you'll know it's like, you know what, I need a bigger tire now because I needed to get over this obstacle last time I was struggling, or, I'd rather have some skid plates because I was scraping things up. It's important to use your vehicle first. That way, as you're modifying it, you get a feel for, okay, this is what the changes were when when I added these larger tires or I lifted it, and this is now how things feel. Don't go out and highly modify your vehicle first. Just get used to it. I mean, look, I tell people all the time, a stock Jeep Wrangler is pretty capable by itself. You don't need to do a whole lot to it. Now, when you want to start doing moderate and difficult trails, okay, then it's time to start upgrading, but you don't need to do it right out of the box. John Lee, for someone starting out new and wants to hit the Rubicon, do you think the outfitter tours are worth it? I think the answer to that is yes. I think like the Jeep Jamboree folks and all those guys that take people through the Rubicon Trail, they do a great job. It's safe. They offer some amenities like food and that kind of stuff. For me, that's not something I want to do. I want to do it on my own or with a couple close friends and say we accomplished it on our own. I don't need a guided tour to take me through things. It's more about the adventure of getting through it on our own. That's more the experience for me. But I think those tours are great, especially if you're starting out and you're not familiar with wheeling and you want to learn some of the techniques. It's a great option. They're not cheap usually though, so you're going to pay for those. Jacob Cow 111. Are you guys armed when you're out overlanding? Okay, there were a lot of questions submitted about this. And so I just want to address it briefly. I have to do this without pissing off the YouTube gods, because if I start talking about this, they flag the video. But yes, I do carry when we're out on our overland trips. But you have to be careful of where you're at. So if we're on BLM or state or national lands, you need to make sure that we're sticking to those regulations. Almost everybody that I'm with is carrying. We don't flash it, we don't flaunt it, but it's something that we do take into consideration. It's a piece of the gear that we take with us. When we go to Alaska, We're going to be taking probably some shotguns because it's just easy to get through Canada and into Alaska with a shotgun. You don't have to do a whole lot of registration and stuff. It's pretty easy to do. And you know, when we're in Alaska, there's bears out there and we're going to want that protection. So yes, the answer to your question is yes. Brandon Facera, would you consider ever getting a full-size rig, modified F-150 or a Ram, etc.? Yes, yes, yes. I think it's a great option. You know, when we did the Death Valley trip and AJ was out there with his big Ram truck, man, I was so impressed with how well that thing performed. I was very, very intrigued about it, and I think it's something that maybe down the road we could do. You know, I love the Gladiator, but the Gladiator it's not the Wrangler. The Wrangler is like an emotional attachment. This vehicle is never going anywhere. I may modify it and change it throughout the years, but this vehicle is never going anywhere. In fact, fun fact here, this is the longest I've ever owned a single vehicle. It used to be a running joke in the family, like Brad's changing vehicles all the time. This is the longest I've ever owned a single vehicle. So the Gladiator I'm going to get a lot of use out of, and we may swap it out for something else, maybe a full-size vehicle down the road. I mentioned there's going to be a classic vehicle in here soon. I think there's a lot of potential for a full-size overland vehicle, especially if you have a family. I think that's a great way to go. Super capable. I mean, look, you're not going to go down some narrow trails with a full-size truck, but you can go quite a few places. All right, John Shipman. So, what were you eating on the trail before Marco? You haven't done many videos on that. Okay, I actually have a couple, I think maybe 2 videos where we were cooking on the trail before I had met Marco. One, we were cooking something we still enjoy, which is pizza burritos, where we actually would make pizza burritos. Definitely, it's a very simple food, and we make breakfast all the time. You guys would not know it, but I actually cook quite a bit. Not on the trail so often, but I do cook at home quite a bit for my wife. I'm not a half bad cook. Maybe I need to do some cooking videos. I don't know. Marco's so much better at it than I am. Tyler Beauclair, if you were to relive one moment on the trail, what would it be? This was not an easy question to come up with, but there's one moment which it just gave me so much joy. It just surprised me. So my wife and I were out exploring, and we had taken a turn and didn't realize how difficult the trail was going. And so I should mention that she was in her 2-door Jeep JL. It was still stock. And I was in the Gladiator, and I think it was still stock. I may have put 35s on it at the time, but I don't think I had even lifted it yet. And we were out exploring. We were spending the day together. We were going to go camp, and we got down this one trail, and I had never been down it before, and it started to get a little technical. I was like, this is not really what I was expecting. I didn't want to freak her out, right? And so we're going down these rocks and stuff, and I'm banging the Gladiator pretty good just because of the long wheelbase. I'm hitting stuff, and we're getting flexy, and I'm like, I need to stop and make sure Regina's okay. And so I get out, and I just, we take a break, get out and talk to her. I'm like, you doing okay? She's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, this is okay. She's like, I'm not worried about nothing. She's like, if you're going down it, I figure I can go down it. And man, we just brought a smile to my face. The fact that she was having so much fun. She didn't have a worry in the world. She was just driving her little 2-door Jeep down this technical trail that most people would be scared of doing. It was awesome that she was just having so much fun. And that was probably one of we've been married for 26 years. One of the top 10 dates that we've ever had was that entire weekend because we camped that night and just had a great time. So there's many, many, many memories, but that's one that just sticks out for me. Andrew Jacobson, I think that's how you say it. What's the perfect RTT, rooftop tent design? I think mine still hasn't been made yet. Yeah, you know what? It's nice to see that there's finally some new rooftop tent designs coming out. I think you kind of have really 2 choices right now. You get the soft shell tent, which folds out, opens up, and you've got the hard shell tents, which have different variations, whether it's clamshell or pop up. Some are now starting to flex out. For me, the soft shell tent is great if it's going to be my wife and I or my son and I, and we're going to be out for multiple days because it's just a little roomier, but it does take longer to set up and break down, and so I don't like that. Plus, it's bigger and bulkier. I love the hard shell rooftop tent just because it's sleek, it's easy to set up. I don't know how you merge those two. I do have a new rooftop tent that's coming here soon, one that I ordered several months ago, and it's finally coming, so I'll be sharing that with you guys here soon. It's a hard shell, I'll just tell you that. Dr. Chopsticks, What was the moment that you knew you were going to marry your wife? All right, so I told you, ask me anything, and you guys definitely submitted some anything questions. So we were in our early 20s. I'll never forget this. We were in our early 20s. We were roommates in an apartment. So it was my wife and I and her friend, and we were all living together. It was like Three's Company or whatever. We all had separate rooms. But my wife and I were up talking. We were just, I don't even know if we were dating at this time. Not really, but we had stayed up all night long talking. And it was like 6 in the morning, and we were still just talking and talking just about everything. And I realized that night that this was the woman I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. So there you go. Probably more than you wanted to know. Unreal. What's the best Overland X meal you have ever had? That's an easy one. When Marco made those steaks on the coals, he cooked them directly on the coals. Not only is that the best meal he ever made for me, that's the best steak I've ever had. If you have not tried cooking a steak directly on the coals, oh, you got to try it. BrenDZ22. Why did you remove the wrap on the Gladiator? Good question. A lot of people have asked this. So it was never intentional for me to wrap the Gladiator. I did it only because the Jeep was going to SEMA. They asked me, hey, can you do something that makes it stand out a little bit? And so that's why we wrapped it. We went with the satin wrap with the stripes. I love the design. It was an awesome design. The only challenge is, well, there's two things. One, I just don't like a flashy vehicle like that. I mean, I like my vehicles to look nice, but it was just, the wrap's just too over the top for me. Two, if I ever wrap a vehicle again, it won't be satin, because satin doesn't hold up well when you're out on the trail and you get pinstripes. I mean, it just mars it up a little bit. Not that the vinyl was tearing or anything like that, but you can see the stripes and there's nothing you can do about it. Where when I had the gloss wrap on the Wrangler, that stuff never showed up. So if I was gonna wrap a vehicle again, I would definitely do it with a gloss, not a satin. That's why I took it off. It was a lot of work to take it off, but thankfully one of my sons helped me. Z Wilson 74. Whose idea was it to go full-time YouTube? Your wife, yours? And who was the most hesitant? Okay. First of all, that was not an easy decision. Thankfully, my wife has a good job. I've got my military retirement, and the channel is going well. I'm not getting rich off the channel by any means, but it finally reached a point where it was like, you know what, look, I'm spending a lot of hours on YouTube. This is a lot of work. You guys wouldn't realize how much work this is, and my full-time job, and so I was really kind of balancing both, and there was finally a tipping point where it's like, something's got to give here. And so we really took a hard look at our finances, and I said, I think we can do this. She was definitely hesitant about it. I mean, look, this is a big decision, but it was ultimately my decision with her permission. There you go. And it took a while for us to make that call. Drink coffee before it gets cold here, guys. All right. Real Bareface. Scariest experience on the trailer. Okay, so there have been several scary experiences on the trail. I've witnessed 3 rollovers over the last, 5 years. And that is a scary experience every time, because when you watch a rollover, I mean, there's just so much that goes through your head. You can feel your heart racing and things happen, and you just kind of go into that mode of safety and first aid and all that kind of stuff. It happened recently when we were out at King of the Hammers. It's just a terrifying moment, because you never know how bad the injuries are going to be to the people inside of the vehicles. So that's always been the scariest. One of the scariest experiences, this is an add-on, when we were out camping was when we were in Baja. And I don't think I filmed that trip. I don't think I filmed that trip. We were out camping in Baja. Epic family road trip. Did film this though. We were camping in Punta Final, and we've camped in this spot many times. And I remember that it was nighttime. We were getting ready to go to bed. We were around the campfire, and the tide was way out. It had gone pretty far out, and we didn't really think anything of it. I mean, we were camping on the beach like we normally do, and somewhere around 1 o'clock in the morning, we started to hear people outside the rooftop tent walking around, and hear all the water. I peek outside my rooftop tent, and there is about 12 inches of water. So it had been a full moon, and so the tide swing was massive. And so the tide came all the way in. It was starting to, people were sleeping on the ground or getting flooded out. Stuff was starting to float. Camping gear was starting to float. The water was just coming up, and the water was starting to surround us. And so that was pretty scary because we were like, oh my gosh, we're not gonna be able to get out of here if this water keeps coming up. Thankfully, it receded, but good lesson learned for us to make sure that we're paying attention to the tides when we're out there camping. So that was kind of a scary moment. All right, I don't know why Nai? Robin, I don't know, I'm gonna butcher that. What's the next video on your son's next upgrade on his Jeep? So there's 2 videos in the queue that I'm editing and they will be coming. I don't want to give it away, but there are 2 things that we just did in the last week, and I will, as soon as I'm done posting this video, I'm going to start working on those and we'll get those out here soon. Movie. All right, so the camera has stopped recording. I didn't realize it timed out, so we're going to go to that question again. Movie Man Cubs fan, I would like to hear your thoughts on not running a snorkel other than the obvious looks cleaner without it. While others like Marco have one, I have a 2016 JKU and I'm 50-50 on getting a snorkel. I think a snorkel is a great option. I don't run one on the Wrangler just because I've never found a need for it, but it is a good option, not just because of water crossings, but because it allows you to you could get a pre-filter. So if you're in the desert like we are often, you can pre-filter that dust and stuff coming in. Your air intake is up higher, so you're getting colder air, cleaner air. I may put one on the Gladiator. I haven't decided 100% yet, but I think it's a good option. Nothing against snorkels. Okay. V Martinez 98. Hi, Brad. I've become a huge fan and signed up for E3 Overland. Thank you very much. I have 2 medium-sized dogs, and I would love to get into overlanding. What is the best sleeping setup for 2 adults and 2 lazy medium-sized dogs? Okay, so look, you don't need a rooftop tent to go out overlanding. You just need some basics. And I think if there's 2 people and 2 dogs, if a rooftop tent doesn't work for you because you can't put the dogs in like the back of your truck or something like that, you want the dogs to sleep with you, you got to get a large tent, and I think that's the best option. We used those shift pod tents when we were out at King of the Hammers. I really like those tents. They're not cheap, but they're easy to set up. They're insulated. I think those are a really good option if you're looking for a really high-end ground tent. I mean, there's plenty of basic ground tents, but that's a really good option there. So one to consider. Okay. Justin Kellogg, what are your thoughts on a Superchargers engine swaps? I know you've mentioned how you like to keep the reliability of your Jeeps intact, but with forced induction being semi-cost-effective option, what do you think? I'm still the same. I am not a fan of forced induction for an overland vehicle. For a rock crawler, go for it. No big deal, especially if you're towing it. But I have 3 close friends that had Superchargers that no longer have them. And I've seen other people have Superchargers where they just had all types of issues, especially when we're out on the trail. Why add another piece of complexity to your vehicle? I mean, not saying that every Supercharger out there has a problem. I'm just saying, personally, I've witnessed too many issues. I think an engine swap is a great option because you're going to get reliability, plus you get a brand new motor. I'm just not a forced induction fan for overlanding. For rock crawling, man, do it. Go hit the trails, have fun, come home, all good. I think for overlanding, it's not the right call. Jeremy McDaniel's best trail fix and or best recovery story. Thanks, Brad. Okay, this was a good question. I had to think really hard about what is the best trail fix or most unique trail fix. So this goes back several years ago when we were out in Anza Borrego, and my buddy John, the bolt holding his track bar broke. And what do you do when your track bar breaks? There's not a whole lot you do. Well, a screwdriver in the hole and lots of duct tape was just enough to get him back home. So that was an interesting trail fix. Not the best way to fix something, but it got him back to camp, and then he was able to tow his vehicle out. Let's see what. The best recovery story would probably be one recently where we were not filming, but Marco, myself, my buddy Eric, we were out in Gold Mountain. There was snow. It was beautiful. We were having a great time out there, just wheeling in the snow, having fun. And coming down the backside, Marco's steering went out, and it started boiling over, and he just had no steering. Coming down the backside of Gold Mountain was all icy, and I mean there was nothing he could do. And if you've ever been in Gold Mountain and back in Big Bear, the backside it's pretty steep and it comes to a T in the road. So the trail comes down and then there's a T. You got to go right or left or you go over a cliff. And he had no steering. And so we put a strap on the back of his Jeep and attached it to a tree, and then I strapped the front of him and he kind of slid down while I pulled him and the tree didn't let him keep going. That was pretty sketchy. Losing your steering in the snow and ice, not a fun experience. One Marco and I will never forget. Dylan Emma Olson, what's your favorite off-road YouTube channel besides your own? Well, mine's not my favorite. I think I'm just a knucklehead up here talking on camera. I love watching YouTube. I especially been watching a lot of YouTube. As far as off-road favorite YouTube channels right now, Dirt Lifestyle. Nate over at Dirt Lifestyle is probably my favorite to watch. He's doing so many amazing projects in his garage. I love the stuff he's doing, fabricating. One of these days I'm going to teach myself to weld and do some of the projects like he's doing over there. He does some pretty good off-road videos as well. He's just a good, genuine guy. I'm so glad I had the opportunity to meet him and get to know him. But I love watching a lot of these new YouTube channels that are coming up, people that are just trying to figure out how to create videos. I love it. I think there's a lot of great content out there. Yep, Dirt Lifestyle. If you haven't checked them out, go check them out. Eternal Patriot, what's your story in the military? Have you been deployed? What bases were your station? Oh, I guess I just answered that. Yes, I have been deployed many, 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 many times. We just went through my whole career. Yep, I'm not going to do that again. Connor Deshmere, would you ever consider a side-by-side Polaris or for the channel? I know they have lots of partnerships. Would you probably be able, oh, I see what he's saying. So he's asking me if I want a Polaris, I could probably get them to sponsor me. Okay, look, that's not for me. We started out a long, long time ago, my sons and I riding dirt bikes and quads and had a blast doing that. But I prefer being in a vehicle, driving there back and forth, being self-sustained, not worrying about having to tow something, and not having to worry about whether or not I need a green sticker or if I need to have license plates going down a trail or not. And there are so many other vehicles that I would rather have in the garage. I don't think a side-by-side, a Polaris or anything like that will ever be on the channel. Sorry, I know those are pretty popular and people love them. Good on you. Next Adventure with the Sims asks, what basic gear would you recommend for someone getting into Overland? Where's a good place to start? So look, I know I'm a gear freak and I got all kinds of stuff and I love it and it's fun, but at the end of the day, you only need some basics. You need a tent, you need a sleeping bag, you need something to cook with. That's pretty much it. You don't need a whole lot. And then you'll figure out what you need as you go. So go get some of the basic camping gear, throw it in your vehicle, go have some great adventures, and as you're out there, you'd be like, you know, it would have been nice to have this, or you know what, I didn't need this on my trip. And so that's how you kind of evolve. You don't need, I mean, look, Overland Expo is overwhelming. They've got so much great stuff there to pick and choose from, but you don't need it all. All this stuff that I have, you don't need it all to have a great adventure. I love having this stuff. It makes things nice. We have some great adventures with it. Allows us to be self-sustained for many, 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 many days. But we didn't start off that way. We just started off with some of the basics. Okay. Rapalm Stage 3? Nope, didn't say that right. If you could start over right now, what Jeep would you buy, including a manual or an automatic? So there's two Jeeps on my bucket list. We talked about this in the last episode. I think I would like either have a Cherokee Chief. Yeah, I think that's a cool one. Maybe here soon. I've been looking at them hard. Now's not the best time to buy a new vehicle. Or diesel, Wrangler, Rubicon, red fenders, red top, fully loaded. One of those two. I don't know. I think is it the SJ? I think I want an SJ. Oh, and I'm an auto guy, although I have enjoyed driving my son's TJ. That's a manual. It's fun, but I do prefer auto. Chris Arala, I'm not sure I'm saying that right. What recommendation do you have for someone that's trying to build their own rig to an Overland while on a budget? This kind of goes back to the gear issue. You don't need to build your rig hard to go have some great adventures. Whatever 4x4 you have, just take it out and use it. Go enjoy the trails. You don't need to do anything crazy. Make sure it's reliable. Make sure you got good maintenance on there. You got a good set of tires. And just take out some gear and go have some great adventures. And then as you get going, you can figure out what stuff you want to add and update. Ben Scuttle 8, what's your favorite memory from the time in service? Go Army, beat Navy. I'm pretty sure he meant go Navy, beat Army, hoorah. That's a nice little jab. But my favorite memory from the time I was in the military service was when I was attached to 7th Comm Battalion. I was deployed to East Timor, and for 3 months, it was myself and a dentist and a small security team, and all we did for that entire 3 months was go from village to village to village, and I would give free medical care and the dentist would get free dental care. Basically, that meant I was treating malaria and tropical diseases and just doing physicals on kids, because the moms would walk 2 miles with their kids just so they could say, is my kid healthy? And then the dentist was just pulling teeth, because there's not a lot you can do when you're doing medicine out in the tropics. And we did that for 3 months. It was some of the most rewarding work I've ever done in my entire life. That humanitarian mission will live with me forever. So best memory. Go Army. No, go Navy. Beat Army. All right. Almost done here, guys. A couple more questions. Are you still hanging out with me? All right, we'll go. I don't know how many of you are still with me. I don't even know how long this video is. I don't know. That probably looked funny. Are there any trails you regret doing and will never do again? Yes, yes, yes. Die trying in Montrose, Colorado. Montrose? Is that where we were? I don't remember where that trail was. I don't know. I'll put it down below. I will never do that trail again. That was just insane. It took us. Would it take us 6 hours to go 1.3 miles? I mean, it was the Wrangler with a rooftop tent was not meant for that trail. It was fun. It was hard, and I think I had to break out the winch at least 3 times. I banged the heck out of my Jeep, but it was cool to say I went through it. But that's a trail I will never do again. And Black Bear Pass, that's a check and done. I will never go to Black Bear Pass. I hate shelf roads. That trail scared the heck out of me. I love Colorado, but I'm not going to do Black Bear Pass again. At least not on purpose. Hyper Green Journey, can you share a story or a trip that you didn't film and you maybe learned something other than that changed your future trips? Okay, so that's a great question. So something that we did that I didn't film that changed kind of how we overland. And so there was one time when it was in the summer, we were going out to the desert, it was a bunch of us. It was pretty hot. It was over 100 degrees out there. We were having a great time exploring. But it was hot, and we decided, you know what, we don't want to camp in this that night, and we headed for the mountains. And so we went up to the mountains, and I was not prepared to camp in the cold, because even though it was 100 degrees in the desert, it was in the high 30s, low 40s at night, and I froze my tail off that night while I was sleeping. And so I will never, ever, ever, ever go unprepared for cold weather again. I hate being cold. I'm a skinny guy. I don't enjoy being cold. So that's one, again, a future trip that I will do here soon will be to Zion. Oh, I'm sorry, I guess I didn't finish their question. Well, let's just move on. I'm just stalling here. Okay, Joseph Facent, do you prefer a big group or a small group to go overlanding with? I'm a small group guy. I love going and hitting the trails with the big groups. San Diego Jeep Club, we have a great time with the large groups, but the logistics involved in taking a large group overlanding is just too much. So having a small group like our Alaska trip, which fingers crossed that's still going to happen, but it's looking grimmer and grimmer. We limited it to 5 vehicles just because the logistics involved in taking more than that is crazy. I mean, when you talk about camping and people, there's a lot involved in that. Okay, Jackson's son Kayema, what advice do you have for a new Jeep YouTube channel? Oh, that's a great question. So I love watching new YouTube channels come up that are off-roading related. One, I would say don't confine yourself to the Jeep community. There's lots of off-roaders out there. But the hardest thing about starting a channel is sometimes people start it for the wrong reasons. If you're starting a channel because you want to become famous, you want to make a bunch of money, you want to work with all these sponsors, that's the wrong reason for starting a channel. Start a channel because you enjoy creating the content, because you like sharing your experiences, you want to offer some value to people. And if you go in it with that mindset, then things will all kind of fall into place. Look, I'm not an expert. I've just been doing this for a while, and so I've kind of figured some things out. But we didn't start off trying to get famous or make a bunch of money. I'm not making a bunch of money, but I'm making some money. But you want to do this for the right reasons. Otherwise, you won't enjoy doing it. And so what happens, I think, is people start a YouTube channel for the wrong reasons, and then it just takes so long to get going that they kind of give up. And so in the beginning for us, it was just a hobby. We were just creating it for fun, and so we were enjoying it. And then as things kind of came together, it was like, oh, well, this is actually kind of self-sustaining itself. Let's just keep doing that. So create videos for the right reasons, not the wrong ones. All right, last question, and this is the one that I get asked often, and that is, why is there a Van Halen 1984 album hanging up on the wall? Well, that was the very first album that I ever got when I was a kid, and I listened to that album over and over and over and over again. Not that specific album, but when my son and I were on, my oldest son Devin and I were on a long trip, when we were driving home, we were kind of just having a little music fest where he would play something, I would play something, we were just going back and forth. And I remember we were having a conversation, I was telling him about the Van Halen 1984 album and how that was just an album that I just listened to over and over and over when I was a kid. And he bought that for me as a gift, which was really cool. Now, that is not my favorite album. I'm actually trying to get that, and that will go on the wall here soon, which I think you'll be interested to see. But that's the reason that's on there, because that was the very first album I got, and because my son got it for me, it's got a little bit of meaning to it. So, all right. How many of you have actually stuck around to the end of this very, very long question and answer video? Well, I hope some of you have, and I hope you're all doing well. I know we're getting cabin fever with what's going on in the world, and hopefully I brought a little bit of entertainment into your day and a little bit of distraction. A lot more to come. I've got a couple videos that I got to edit for my son's Jeep Wrangler, so those will be coming in the next couple days. I got a couple other videos that I'm going to kind of create here soon. I'm going to try to pump out at least one every 2 days. We'll see if I can keep that going. But thank you for sticking around, for watching the video. I hope you're safe and healthy. I'll see you in the next video, guys.